Spain's recent decision to shift its trade stance toward China has sent shockwaves across Europe. No one expected such a dramatic change from a country that once stood firmly with the European Union's plan to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, EVs. Now, Spain is calling for a more cooperative approach with China, and the rest of Europe is left scrambling to adjust. What prompted Spain to make this surprising move, and what does it mean for the future of EU-China relations? Stay with us as we unpack how this decision could change the entire European trade landscape, with potentially massive consequences for industries, economies, and even geopolitics. The story begins with the European Union's initial proposal to impose tariffs on Chinese EVs, an effort designed to protect European car manufacturers from what they saw as unfair competition. China has been heavily subsidizing its EV production, allowing their vehicles to enter European markets at significantly lower prices than locally made cars. The European Commission saw this as a direct threat to European jobs and industries, and was pushing for tariffs as high as 38%. Initially, Spain was on board with this plan, agreeing that the tariffs were necessary to safeguard Europe's automotive sector. However, everything changed after Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's recent trip to China. During his meetings with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Sanchez made a complete U-turn. In a surprising announcement, Sanchez expressed concern that imposing these tariffs could lead to a damaging trade war with China, one that could harm Spain's economy more than it would help. Instead of endorsing the EU's hardline stance, Sanchez advocated for dialogue and cooperation with China, calling for a more balanced approach that prioritizes economic stability over escalating tensions. This unexpected shift from Spain has thrown the EU into disarray. Spain, the fourth-largest economy in the Eurozone, plays a critical role in the bloc's decision-making process, and its sudden reversal on such a major issue has left many European leaders scrambling. France and Italy remain staunch supporters of the tariffs, arguing that Europe must protect its industries from China's aggressive economic policies. Germany, on the other hand, shares Spain's concerns about the potential fallout from a trade conflict. Germany's automotive industry is one of the largest in the world, and China is a critical market for German car exports. A trade war with China could severely impact Germany's economy, which is already grappling with rising energy costs and inflation. But why did Spain change its mind so suddenly? The answer lies in its own economic interests. Spain has a lot to lose if a trade conflict with China escalates. In 2022, Spain exported over 1.2 billion euros worth of pork to China, making it one of the largest suppliers of pork to the Chinese market. China is also a key market for Spain's growing renewable energy sector, and any disruption in trade relations could harm these crucial industries. By advocating for a more cooperative approach, Sanchez is looking out for Spain's long-term economic health, even if it means breaking ranks with the EU on this issue. Sanchez's shift is not just about protecting Spain's economic interests. It's also about positioning Spain as a key player in Europe's future relationship with China. By advocating for dialogue and cooperation, Sanchez is signaling that Spain wants to play a leading role in shaping EU-China relations, rather than simply following the lead of other, larger European powers. This move could strengthen Spain's diplomatic standing within the EU, as it seeks to balance its own national interests with the broader goals of the European Union. Spain's decision also highlights the deep divisions within Europe over how to handle China. While some countries, like France and Italy, are pushing for stronger protectionist measures, others, like Spain and Germany, are calling for a more nuanced approach. These divisions reflect the broader challenges that the EU faces as it tries to navigate a rapidly changing global economic landscape. China is not just an economic competitor, it's also a crucial trading partner. and the EU must find a way to manage this complex relationship without triggering a damaging trade war. The upcoming EU vote on the tariffs is now more uncertain than ever. For the tariffs to pass, they need the support of 15 member states representing at least 65% of the EU's population. With Spain now opposing the tariffs, it's unclear whether the European Commission will be able to muster enough support to push the proposal through. If the tariffs are rejected, it would be a significant blow to those within the EU who are pushing for a tougher stance on China. It would also signal a major shift in how the EU approaches trade with China going forward. China, for its part, has been quick to respond to the EU's proposed tariffs. The Chinese government has already launched investigations into several EU imports, including pork, dairy, and alcohol, in what many see as a preemptive strike against European trade measures. These investigations could lead to retaliatory tariffs on European goods, which would have a particularly harsh impact on countries like Spain, which rely heavily on exports to China. For example, Spain's pork industry is particularly vulnerable to Chinese countermeasures. In 2022, China imported 1.5 billion euros worth of pork products from Spain, making it the top European supplier. If China imposes tariffs on Spanish pork, it could severely harm Spain's agricultural sector and lead to significant job losses. During Sanchez's visit to China, Xi Jinping encouraged him to play a more constructive role in improving EU-China relations, a clear indication that China is eager to maintain strong ties with Spain. By aligning itself more closely with China, Spain could gain preferential access to Chinese markets, giving its industries a competitive edge in the global market. This could be particularly beneficial for Spain's growing renewable energy sector, which is looking to expand its footprint in China, one of the world's largest markets for clean energy technologies. However, Spain's shift towards China is not without risks. While Sanchez is advocating for dialogue and cooperation, the broader geopolitical context cannot be ignored. Relations between China and the West have been deteriorating in recent years, with growing concerns about China's human rights record, its military ambitions in the South China Sea, and its economic practices. By taking a more conciliatory approach, Spain risks alienating its European allies and undermining the EU's collective bargaining power. If Europe is divided in its approach to China, it will be much harder for the EU to negotiate favorable trade terms and protect its industries from unfair competition. The broader context of this trade dispute is the growing tension between China and Western nations, particularly the United States. The U.S. has been leading the charge in calling for a reduction in reliance on Chinese supply chains, especially in critical industries like semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Europe has been slower to follow suit, but the proposed tariffs on Chinese EVs are part of a broader effort to reduce Europe's dependence on Chinese goods. However, Spain's decision to back away from the tariff proposal shows just how difficult it will be for Europe to present a united front on this issue. Spain's dramatic turn towards China could also have significant implications for the future of EU-China relations. If Spain's more cooperative approach gains traction within the EU, it could lead to a major shift in how Europe deals with China. Rather than pursuing a confrontational approach, Europe may opt for a more diplomatic strategy, one that seeks to balance economic cooperation with strategic competition. This would be a major departure from the current trend of increasing tensions between China and the West. In the short term, however, the focus will be on the upcoming vote on the tariffs. If the tariffs are approved, it would mark a significant escalation in the EU's trade dispute with China. But if the tariffs are rejected, it would signal that Europe is not ready to take a hardline stance against China, at least not yet. Either way, Spain's decision to break ranks with the EU on this issue has already had a major impact, and the consequences of this decision will be felt for years to come. Looking ahead, The outcome of this dispute will have far-reaching implications for global trade. If Europe can find a way to manage its relationship with China without resorting to a full-blown trade war, it could serve as a model for other regions grappling with similar challenges. But if tensions continue to escalate, we could be heading towards a new era of economic conflict, one that could reshape the global economy in ways that are difficult to predict. In the end, Spain's decision to pursue a more cooperative approach with China reflects the complexities of modern global trade. As the world becomes more interconnected, countries must navigate a delicate balance between protecting their own industries and maintaining healthy relationships with key trading partners. Spain's dramatic turn has shown just how difficult that balance can be and how one country's decision can send shockwaves across an entire continent. What do you think of Spain's decision to change its approach to China? Will it benefit or hurt Spain in the long run? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on global trade and geopolitics. Thanks for watching.